Okay, you guys, I bought this tree for a deal. I don't really like the kind that's pre-packaged like this for a bare root stock tree. You can't see the root structure to see how good it is. I saw a deal on this tree and I grabbed it at a big box store. And normally I would go to a really good nursery and where I can select the best bare root stock, but it was half the price. And this is what a lot of people end up doing. But it's a Nectarine, Double Delight Nectarine. One of the things I don't like about this pre-packaging method, where it makes it easier for sales in the stores because they can, put these up on rows, put them in the aisleway or on end caps and sell them like this. If you got bare root stock, you got to do it outdoors really in a sandbox or a potting soil box. But here's one thing I don't like is they wrapped wire around here. It's like heavy duty baling wire. And just that alone kind of scares me, scarring the trunk. The three things I talked about in my video on selecting bare root stock was the three things: good branch structure, good root structure, and no scarring to the trunk. You don't want a trunk that's been all scarred up. Now this one has, a long time ago, a branch was ripped off here and it's already started to heal, so it already has a little scar. The other trees in the nursery were more scarred than this, but this one's okay. It has good branch structure. That's the thing that caught my eye. Roots. Let's see what we got in this bag. What the surprise is. Hopefully it's not really depressing. Boy, these roots have been brutalized. Talk about a brutalized tree. I wanted to show what these are like, and I thought, I'm going to take a chance on one of these and I can just show you guys what it's like compared to that other video. Look at how these roots have just been brutalized. That thing's just been lopped off there. The tip root has been lopped off. But these will come back, especially if you plant them in the right time of the year. And that's one of the key things, because this video is on planting a tree, not selecting the best rootstock. But for instance, this potting bag had the soil all the way up to the graft. Here's the root crown down here. You want the soil, when you're done planting, to be here. And I'm going to plant the tree on a slight mound, slightly elevated, with the roots all covered. But you don't want to bury the trunk. That's not good for the tree. That will cause it to rot. And it won't develop very good. It'll just have nothing but problems. If it doesn't rot, it'll just be sitting there. It's just, you don't want to bury the trunk into the ground. You just want to bury the roots in the ground. I put this over here in the shade. We just had a bunch of rain. Everything's wet outside right now. And that's what you want. That's the best time of year to plant, when everything's wet and cold. You don't want it in the direct sunlight. It's not good for the roots. You don't want the roots to dry out. You want them to stay damp. So I'm just going to lay it down right here and put the sawdust over the roots. The angle of my camera probably isn't showing this, but I'm going to put the wet sawdust over the roots. There. Okay, now I'm going to finish making this hole. And the thing about planting a tree, like Dr. Alex Shigo used to say, you don't plant a tree in a hole, you plant a tree in a bed. So I'm going to make a large hole that's shallow rather than a narrow hole that's deep. So I want to make a wide hole, like about minimum 16 inches in diameter, but I'm going to try to do 24 inches in diameter. First of all, I'm going to rake these pine needles out of the way because I don't want to incorporate them in the soil. I don't really. For busting up the soil, I actually want my regular mattock, the longer adze. And when you're making the bed, you don't really need to remove a bunch of soil. You can just fluff up the soil and then plant the tree. I can just take my hand and just plant the tree right down in here because I want the tree to be elevated. So the tree doesn't have to be deep in the hole. You don't want it to be deep in the hole. But it's okay to loosen up all the dirt down in the hole. It's okay to loosen it all up.
All kinds of roots around here.
I don't want old roots in here. Okay, what I want to do, I'm going to add this potting soil to the top. I'm going to incorporate it shallowly into the ground, not deep down. I'm going to incorporate it in the top layer. And I want it to be mounted. This is clay soil. We have really clay soil here right now where I'm working. And it retains a lot of moisture. And clay soil is okay. But you don't want to plant your tree down deep in clay soil because it's going to rot if you do that. Like for instance, if you live in a place where you have really sandy loam, like I was planting fruit trees in the Sierra foothills down by Clovis, California, and they have a lot of DG, decomposed granite, in the foothill valleys, and that soil is so good for planting fruit trees. That's why there used to be a lot of fruit tree growers in the Sierra foothills, you know, at the elevations between 1,000 and 2,500 feet. That's a really good elevation for growing fruit trees, and the soil often is pretty nice because it drains really good. The clay soil doesn't drain very good. So that's beneficial in the summer. When you water it, the water will stay there. The problem in the Sierra foothills with that sandy soil, that loamy, it's a very sandy loam, is it doesn't retain the moisture and your roots will dry. You have to water more often or incorporate more manure and maybe even some clay into the soil at those higher elevations to get better soil moisture retention, or incorporate more organic matter. That'll help too. I'm going to add some potting soil. And this potting soil, most potting soil is junk nowadays. It really is. It's sad the way they make it. It's mostly wood chips. Because you read they have the ingredients on the back, and this is okay. I got this stuff because at least it has pumice in it. But the pumice was near the end of the list of ingredients. The majority of the ingredients is decomposed, recycled, aged fir bark, aged redwood, Canadian sphagnum peat moss is the third ingredient, and volcanic pumice is the fourth ingredient.
What I'd also like to add is that they also put kelp meal, chicken meal, and bat guano, which is all good stuff.
This is a 2 cubic foot bag, and I'm going to use about half the bag, about a cubic foot. I'm going to stir it up a little bit. I'm going to use this mattock. It's larger in diameter than it is deep. It's only about a foot deep, but 2 feet in diameter. And another reason why you want to plant on a mound is because invariably the mound that you make is going to settle in the next year. It's going to settle a lot as the soil, the more you water it, the ground will settle. So I like to hyperextend it and, you know, make a pronounced mound because I know that it's going to settle. And I'd rather have it have a slight mound even after a year. I would like it not to settle level with the grade completely in this soil because it's so much clay.
Well, if you have really good sandy soil or really good sandy loam, yes, you don't need to make a mound. You can plant it level with the grade. But
if it's too elevated of a mound and you water it, the water can wash away the soil and expose the roots to the sun and the air. That's not good. You want the roots to stay covered, but there's a way of dealing with that, and I'll just show you here. And I got stakes. I'm going to show you how to stake the tree. And I'm going to use 3 stakes because there's a lot of activity and kids and dogs running around here. And 3 stakes will protect the tree from people with tools, crazy people with weed eaters. Those are the worst. They'll kill your tree. People that come up to your tree with a weed eater, they go around it to trim all the weeds away. And they'll strip the bark off, the cambium layer, all the way around, kill the tree. So the weed eater guys need to stay away from your trees. Stay away from the tree with your weed eater. If you have to pull weeds around your weed, do it around your tree, do it by hand. But stay at least 16 inches away from your tree with a weed eater. I think I'm going to go a little bit deeper because the fine roots that are in here, I want to lay them out without bending them or contorting them.
I'm trying to prepare the hole so that I can lay the roots out straight and slightly downward into the hole. You don't want the roots to be bent or twisted in any direction. You want them to lay and radiate from the center of the trunk out. horizontally with with the horizon of the soil.
Now this tree has branches. It has good branch distribution for a big box store, quickie, in the bag tree, but it has more branches on one side. That's this side. So you want that to face to the sunny side, the side that gets the most sun, which is the south. If you live in the northern hemisphere, I'm here in Northern California. So the prevailing intense sun is coming. The most intense sun is between 12 noon and 3 o'clock. And so think in your mind, where's the sun at 12 noon to 3 o'clock in my sky? And that's where you want your strongest, best branches facing that direction. When you put the roots in, you don't want to lay them in where this root is bent. So I need to widen this hole a little bit more because I want to lay these guys out. This one's growing this way. This one's growing this way. This one's growing this way. You want to make room so that the roots aren't bent. You want the roots growing straight in the direction they're going. So that's where making a wide hole comes in. I'm actually going to lift up on it a little bit and kind of shake it to let the soil settle down in there. If you balance it just right, the tree will kind of hold itself there.
What I'm doing here right now is just slightly lifting up on the trunk and just shaking it while I do. And that will help straighten out the roots, and it'll also lift the crown up to exactly the height that I want.
If you put the tree down in the ground, you're going to have a hole where water will pool around here. And if you're, the opposite, instead of having a mound, having a depression, if the root crown is in a depression, then when it rains or when you water, the water can pool up around there and dirt can fall in around it, thus raising the grade around the root crown, which will increase the chances of rot. So it's better to have a mound. Have it extended a little bit. Unless you live in really sandy soil and you're in a place where you have a lot of nice DG or some kind of really sandy soil. If you live in sandy soil, it's really forgiving with root rot because the soil drains so good. So try to make your stem level. Not level, but vertical. 90 degrees to the horizontal plane, which would be vertical, right? Now I'm putting the dirt a little high around here because what's going to happen when I first water this with the hose, it's going to wash off, it's going to come down. So I'm hyperextending the dirt a little bit, raising it up beyond a little bit higher because I'm going to take the hose when I'm all done. When I stake this, I'm going to water it. That's going to wash off a little bit. It's going to pack down. It's going to settle down more. I'm doing this in February, early February 2024. And I always loosen up these tags because I don't want them putting a strain on the trunk when it's growing. I'll loosen up this tag. And these little guys, I like to take these off and put them, I don't like them right around my main trunk because I want the trunk to grow with no weird restrictions on it. And I'm going to drape this loosely over a small leader where this can develop in diameter and it's not going to get constricted or choked. And I'm going to do the 3 staking system, which is the best. 2 stakes is okay. 3 is better.